Good morning, I'm Andy Ridley. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Earth Hour. Now, I didn't start my career in the environment movement. I actually started my career on a potato farm, picking rotten potatoes off a conveyor belt. I wasn't very good at this job, and in fact, I got fired. So I decided to move on, and I went to Hong Kong and got a job as a laborer for a marine survey company. Now, this is a tough job. I was like a donkey, basically. But I learned a lot from this. I worked very hard. I spent my money every night, but I learned a lot. And the biggest thing I took away from it was that whether for good or for bad, it is incredible what human beings can do when they make their mind up. This picture is Chek Lap Kok Airport. To build this, they reclaimed millions of meters of land. They knocked the tops off mountains, and it's now one of the best airports in the world. Environmental damage, probably quite a lot. From there, I went and followed what I wanted to do with my life, which was work in the charity sector. And I got a job at an amazing organization called the Prince's Trust in London. And the Prince's Trust works with young people who are falling behind. They've got low basic skills. And again, within this job, I learned one really important thing, and that was even kids who've had like the worst backgrounds, given the right resources, given the right inspiration, can become incredible individuals. In 2002, I took 6 months unpaid leave to follow a dream and to follow a girl to Australia. I wanted to go and see the Great Barrier Reef. Ever since I've been kind of this high, I'd wanted to go diving on this amazing natural icon. So there I am on the back of a dive boat, just out of Port Douglas in northern Queensland, getting ready to go in the water, and I drop into the water. And what I see stuns me, because I don't see a vibrant reef full of animals, but instead I see a reef that looks like a bulldozer has gone over the top of it. I was really, really shocked. So when I got back on the boat, and over the next few weeks, I started to find out a bit more about what was going on. And I learned a bit about climate change, I learned a bit about coral bleaching, about overfishing, about runoff from the land. And it was about this sort of time that I decided, okay, I'm going to change my career. I'm going to try and get into the environment movement. So through friends of friends, I got a job at WWF as communications director. Got the interview, got the job, big surprise. And started working on campaigns. So we worked on a lot. We won some big ones, and we lost some big ones. But the thing that kept coming back to me and my amazing team was that we were defaulting to two audiences. We started to call this the 5% problem. And the two audiences were on one side, the green movement, the people that already agreed with us. And then on the other side, the other extreme, the people who would never agree with us and would always want to fight. Right in the middle, we were ignoring the mainstream. And it kept coming back to us that if you really want to make change, if you really want to achieve something, that mainstream, that bulk in the middle, is where you have the highest possibility of doing that. So we started working on a few ideas to see how we could engage this mainstream audience. And the first idea was called the Future Makers. It was, we thought it was very clever, I'm not sure it was, but the idea was this, that the future is man-made. Maybe sadly, but the future is man-made. We decide our own destiny. So we are future makers. Everyone has a responsibility. Everyone can change the future we live in, however big or small. Now, we launched this campaign. We used quite negative advertising, showing what the world would look like if we didn't look after it. And I have to be honest, it didn't really work that well. But we learnt loads. And really, Future Makers was the birthplace of Earth Hour. It was the parent of Earth Hour. The biggest thing that we learnt was, and the biggest thing we started to understand was, we were missing a point of inspiration, symbolism. when we started to look at big social change movements, the ones that had succeeded, symbolism was pretty core to their success. So we started to think around ideas that might give us that point of inspiration. So July 2006, we gathered a few people for breakfast in the Hilton Hotel in Sydney. And we started playing around with an idea which we then called the Big Flick, not a very good name, which was a lights out campaign. Over the next few months, we gathered more and more people together and built Earth Hour, the beginning of this. So there I am, 31st of March, 2007, standing beside Sydney Harbour, this amazing, beautiful harbour, wondering whether this is going to work. I am really stressed and really worried. No idea. So earlier on in the day, I'd been doing a TV interview. I'd got in a cab after the interview. The cab driver had gone to me, so what do you do? And I said, I'm working on Earth Hour. And he harangued me. He told me how stupid the idea was and that no one was going to do it. So I'm not feeling at my most confident at this point. He then drops me off at the office. I walk into the office, the WWF office, and we've left the lights on. It's like, if we can't turn the lights out, who else is going to do it? So there I am by the harbour. We've got all the people who've been working on this campaign all with us. There's families in the botanical gardens, all having picnics, and we're waiting to see if the lights go off. 7:30, and they do. The buildings start going off. It wasn't one big kind of blackout. They just started going off one by one. And then the big logos on the top of the building started going off. Then the bridge, and then the opera house. And we're just standing there, just humbled, because millions of people across this city have answered the call to action. They've used Earth Hour as a way of enabling them to make a statement about the place that we live. So as time goes on, the media picks this up, it goes round the world, and the next day, it's all over the world press. And the city of Toronto rings us up and says, we would like to do Earth Hour next year. So we've got 2 cities. By the time we get to Earth Hour 2008, we have something like just under 400 cities. So it's snowballed. Amazing. It's fairly out of control. So the next stage, it gets even bigger. So 2009, it's 4,000 cities. And we're out of control. You know, when we started Earth Hour, we wanted it to be different. We wanted it to be about hope, not fear. We wanted it to be street party, not street protest. And we wanted it to inspire that sense of common purpose. And we'd somehow achieved this. It was amazing and humbling. But at that peak of success was where we started to go a little bit off course. So I don't know if you remember, but in 2009, there was a meeting of world leaders called COP15. It was in Copenhagen. And this was the meeting where all the world's leaders were going to rock into town and sign a climate deal to solve the climate crisis. And we'd come up with this genius idea. We were going to do a one-city Earth Hour in Copenhagen on December the 16th. And we had built this silver orb, an atlas of the planet. And inside it had a digital memory. We'd captured millions of votes and voices and pictures from around the world. And we were going to put this orb on the stage in the Bella Center where the negotiations were happening to remind the world leaders that the world wanted action. Genius. It's 7:02. My phone goes. I'm on the stage. It is stupidly cold. And someone from WWF goes, the UN Secretary General, who was meant to be coming to pick up the orb, is not coming. So Ban Ki-moon was meant to be coming to the stage, picking up the orb, taking it back to the Bella Center, making a rousing speech, and our whole plan had basically fallen apart. So we have to tell the TV crews that Ban Ki-moon is not coming. And they literally pick up their cameras off the tripods and walk in out of the snow. So for a moment, we had thought we were in the middle of history, but the reality was we just got taught a lesson in political naivety. Again, humbling, but not in a very good way. At the time, my wife and I had a little 3-week-old boy, and my wife had sent me to Copenhagen to try and make a difference with her blessing. And I was going home with a complete sense of failure. It was a long trip home. 1 week later, I'm in Kosciuszko National Park in Australia, a very beautiful place. And I'm going for a walk with my little boy. He's about 4 or 5 weeks old by this time. And he's wrapped in a blanket, and he's on my chest like this. And Tammy's having a rest, my wife's having a rest. And it came to me what we'd done wrong. We had forgotten who we were. We'd forgotten what we had been trying to do. We had forgotten that Earth Hour was meant to be about the people, about the community, and we had been sucked back into the 5% problem, the environment movement, the politics. So I went back into work, and my amazing team brushed themselves down, picked themselves up, and we started working on Earth Hour 2010. We had 3 months to deliver this, but through hard work, it was done, and it was a record-breaking Earth Hour, 4,600 cities. But what was most amazing about that year was that when we asked people around the world about Copenhagen, about COP15, most of them had no idea that it had even happened. So, kind of definitely proved that we'd been sucked into the 5% problem again. It was about this time that we started to notice a phenomenon within Earth Hour. There's a few of these, but this is one of my favorites. And that was the rise of Earth Hour, what we call Earth Hour heroes. So this guy is called Nathi. When he first connected with us, he's 15 years old, and he's from Swaziland. And this is 2010. He wrote to us and said that he'd been running around his town trying to get people to turn the lights off for Earth Hour, but no one was doing it. And he's pretty upset about this. So we said to him, Nathi, why don't you start Earth Hour in Swaziland? And so he did. He got together his 20 best mates and his mum and his family, and they started Earth Hour. So the first Earth Hour in Swaziland was 2011. Now, this year, the thousands of people taking part. This guy and his friends have built a movement, much more than Lights Out. And this has been replicated by thousands of people all over the world, which is amazing. But we didn't start Earth Hour just to turn out lights. That would be a little bit stupid, really. We were always planning, we always wanted to go far, far further, far beyond the hour. But it was hard to do it. It was like the difficult second album. We had a really successful first album, second one, tough work. We tried lots of different things. But it wasn't until we tried a project that we call I Will If You Will, which was a kind of counter to I Won't Because You Don't, that we started to see really big success going beyond the hour. So whether or not it's this little Greek lad, 7 years old, pledging to give up chocolate if 50 of his neighbors will green their balcony, or 100,000 Russians signing a petition to get really big legislative changes around marine protection in Russia, or the first Earth Hour forest in Uganda, 2,700 hectares, or a 3.4 million hectare marine protected area that Earth Hour in Argentina is trying to secure at the moment. Big and small, local and global outcomes, driven by people. So what you start to see is the first signs of crowdsourced campaigning, using Earth Hour as a platform. But you know, the world is really different from 2006, 2007, when we first started Earth Hour, to where we are now. This picture is from Jakarta. Now, the central business district in Jakarta has flooded twice already this year. And as you can see, it's affecting all ends of society. If you live in New Jersey, you've got a $55+ billion price tag for Hurricane Sandy, let alone the horrific human cost. And if you're going to work in a major city in China, there is a good chance that you have to wear a mask because the pollution, the smog, is so bad. Now, this has been replicated in most countries around the world, these problems. And I think the biggest difference is that back when we started, these things were the sort of things you saw in the news, whereas now they're in our lives, and it's only going to become more common. But yet we seem to still really struggle with selling sustainability. And this is a screen grab from Google. As you can see, that's sustainability in the search box, and if you press image, that's what comes up. It's not very aspirational. So, what can we learn? Is there anyone out there that can teach us how to do this better? So I've taken a really interesting example, I think. This is the car industry. Now, these are some of the world's biggest brands. The top ones are Jag, then you've got Toyota, Volkswagen's Blue Motion, Hyundai's Blue Drive, and BMW. They have reimagined how to sell green, and they've used the color blue, which I think is pretty interesting. Because I think the hardest thing for us to sort of think about is if we can't get people to think that this sustainable world is aspirational, then how are we going to get there? An aspirational world of sustainability is a good place to live. It's desirable. So for Earth Hour, it offers an amazing opportunity. We have a unique blend of massive digital community and massive on-the-ground community. We have the opportunity to enable, engage, and empower people to crowdsource and crowdfund. So to plant a tree using your mobile phone and donating $1, to volunteering, to a school down the road, or to your neighbors. It's all in our hands. Sir Robert Swan, one of the great polar explorers, said, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." Earth Hour was designed as a platform to help you do something. It was built for you. It belongs to you. And there's much magic to be done. So thanks very much for your time. Cheers.